Imagine this. You are 16 years old, and you are standing in front of a mirror getting ready for a party. Not just any party, a real one. With a DJ, with lights, with older people who make everything feel bigger than your regular life. Your friend texted you the flyer. It looked professional. It looked legitimate. The man throwing it has a reputation around Florence, South Carolina. Everybody knows DJ Kid. You have seen his name on social media since you were 13. He promotes events. He pays girls to hand out flyers. He comments on posts. He slides into DMs with opportunities that sound like they could actually be something. Your mama does not know you are going. You told her you were staying at your friend's house. She believed you because you have never given her a reason not to. You are wearing something cute. Your hair is done. You feel older than you are. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there is a small voice trying to tell you something. You do not listen to it. Not yet. Because the music is loud and the lights are low and the man behind all of it has chosen you out of everyone in the room to talk to. And when someone chooses you, when someone with power and presence and money in his pocket turns his full attention on you, 16 years old feels like the most dangerous age in the world. Not because you are reckless, but because you have not yet learned that attention from the wrong person is not a compliment. It is a calculation. His name is Jason Roger Pope, and he has been doing this since before you were born. This is No Tears for Black Girls. I am Samantha Paul. Before we go any further, I need you to understand something about this episode. What you are about to hear is not a horror story from another century. It is not a cautionary tale from a true crime book you can close when it gets too heavy. It is a documented, prosecuted, legally confirmed case that unfolded in a mid-sized American city over the course of nearly 3 decades, while law enforcement had access to the evidence, while girls were going to hospitals and filing reports and telling adults what was happening to them, while a man used a party flyer and a social media page and the social currency of being the local DJ to access hundreds of black girls and women, some as young as 11 years old, and do what predators do when a system decides their victims are not worth protecting. This episode contains detailed accounts of sexual abuse of minors, human trafficking, deliberate HIV exposure, and the compounded failures of a law enforcement system that had every opportunity to stop one man and chose, repeatedly and over decades, not to. Take care of yourself while you listen. But listen, because this story is not over, and the conditions that made it possible are still in place. Florence, South Carolina sits in the northeastern part of the state, about 90 miles east of Columbia and about 70 miles west of the coast. It is not a small town. It has a population of around 38,000 people. It has hospitals, a university, a regional airport. It is the kind of mid-sized southern city where everybody knows somebody who knows somebody, where reputations travel fast, where a man who promotes parties and plays music at events can build the kind of social capital that makes him feel untouchable, where his name on a flyer means something, where a teenage girl sees his profile on Facebook and thinks he is someone worth knowing. Jason Roger Pope was born in 1977. By the time he was 18 years old, he already had a criminal record. By the time he was 19, he had been convicted of promoting the prostitution of a minor and received a suspended sentence of 30 months. 30 months suspended for prostituting a child. He did not go to prison. He went home, and then he kept going. What follows is not a list of charges. It is a timeline of every moment the system had a door open wide enough to stop what was coming and chose to close it instead. December 1995. Pope is arrested for impersonating a police officer. Convicted. Suspended sentence of 1 year plus probation. February 1996. Pope is arrested and convicted of promoting prostitution with a minor. Suspended sentence of 30 months. He goes home. August 1997. Assault and battery. A fine. Disorderly conduct. A fine. Forgery. 90 days in jail. Forgery again. A 5-year suspended sentence. Door after door. Fine after fine, suspended sentence after suspended sentence. And all the while, he is still out there, still in the community, still building the reputation that will eventually give him access to hundreds of young black girls who have no idea that the man throwing the party has been telling the system exactly who he is since 1995. And the system has been handing him back his freedom like it costs nothing. Because for him, it costs nothing. Now we arrive at December 4th, 2011, Florence County. Two girls walk into a hospital and tell a deputy that they had unprotected sex with Jason Pope. They are 13 and 16 years old. He is 34. They tell the deputy Pope gave them marijuana and money. They are terrified they have contracted HIV because they found out he has AIDS. A deputy takes the report. The case is marked unfounded. Pope is listed as a subject. He is not arrested. A 13-year-old child sat in a hospital and told an adult in a position of authority that a 34-year-old man paid her for sex, and she was afraid she had been exposed to a fatal disease. And the case was marked unfounded and closed, and Pope went home. That child's report has been sitting in Florence County Sheriff's Office records since 2011. A 16-year-old girl tells deputies that since September of that year, Pope, now 40 years old, had been paying her for sexual acts, blackmailing her to continue when she tried to stop, showing up at her friends' homes trying to find her when she attempted to cut ties. She says he has been brainwashing her. She says she knows of other girls between 15 and 16 he has been involved with. She says he tells them all the same thing. He tells them his father is a federal judge, and he will never face consequences for anything they claim against him. Deputies note evidence on a phone showing Pope requesting sex in exchange for money. The phone is logged into evidence at the Florence County Sheriff's Office. The report is administratively closed. Pope is listed as a subject. He is not arrested. There is a phone sitting in an evidence locker at the Florence County Sheriff's Office with messages from Jason Pope to a teenage girl, and he is not arrested. May 2018, a mother calls deputies. She has discovered that a man is contacting her 15-year-old daughter through Snapchat and Facebook, luring young girls with promises of prizes. His profile has photos of underage girls. His account name is DJ Kid 69. Pope is listed as a subject. He is not arrested. Later that same month, one of Pope's own family members calls law enforcement, his own family. They tell deputies that Pope is having sexual contact with minors, that he pays girls to perform sexual acts and posts about it on social media, and that the activity has been escalating. They say they have screenshots. They show the deputy the content. The deputy views it with his own eyes. The family member is so distressed by what Pope has been doing that they are experiencing suicidal thoughts. The deputy calls EMS for the family member. Pope is listed as a subject. The report is administratively closed. He is not arrested. His own family member put evidence in a law enforcement officer's hands. The officer looked at it, and Pope went home. November 2018. Deputies respond to a call about a missing 16-year-old believed to be with Pope. Officers go to his home. She answers the door. There is also a 14-year-old inside. Deputies can smell marijuana throughout the residence. Pope is read his rights. He agrees to answer questions and gives permission to search his home. Inside a bedroom drawer, they find 6 SD cards tucked inside a sock. They find cash he cannot explain. He is arrested for marijuana possession. 2 days later, he is charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor and convicted of 2 counts of cruelty to children. He receives a fine. 6 SD cards in a sock in a convicted predator's bedroom, 2 underage girls in his home, a documented history going back to 2011 of minors, paid sex, and a man who has AIDS. And the charge that sticks is a fine. He goes home. April 2019. Pope goes to a Zaxby's restaurant to pick up a 17-year-old girl from work. An argument breaks out. He gets out of his car and threatens to come back and shoot the place up. He drives away. He is not arrested. August 29th, 2019. Jason Roger Pope is finally arrested and charged with criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, kidnapping, and trafficking in persons. He is booked into the Florence County Detention Center and held without bond. He is 42 years old. The first documented report of his abuse of a minor was 1996. That is 23 years. 23 years between his first conviction for promoting the prostitution of a minor and his first arrest for trafficking. 23 years of reports filed and cases closed and evidence logged and nothing done while hundreds of black girls moved through his world, not knowing what he had already been told the system would allow him to do to them. The investigation that follows his 2019 arrest begins to reveal the full scope of what Florence County had been sitting on. State Law Enforcement Division agents work the case. Authorities seek the public's help locating additional victims. Hundreds of girls come forward. Arrest warrants describe specific victims, including a girl recruited on social media, courted, and then confined to a room in Darlington where Pope forced her to perform sex acts and threatened her to keep the arrangement going. By November 2019, he is facing additional charges, including criminal sexual conduct with minors between the ages of 11 and 14. 11 to 14 years old. In January 2020, he is indicted on 14 charges. He files for a jury trial. Bond is denied, and then his attorneys introduce a new strategy. They claim he is mentally incompetent to stand trial. A psychiatric evaluation is ordered. Pope is diagnosed with autism. His attorneys argue he cannot meaningfully participate in his own defense. His lawyer stands in open court in December 2021 and tells a judge that Pope has the mentality of a teenager, that he believed these were his girlfriends, that he thought he had loving relationships with them, that in his mind everything was consensual and every girl told him she was of age. She asks the judge to release him on bond so he can live with his mother. The prosecution's response is swift. Deputy Attorney General Heather Weiss tells the judge that Pope is not confused about what he did. She tells the court he is actively getting word out from his jail cell, trying to harass, intimidate, threaten, and bully the victims he trafficked from behind bars while awaiting trial. She tells the judge he does not recognize that anything he did was wrong, and that if released, there is absolutely no way to protect the public from Jason Pope. Bond is denied. The prosecution conducts its own mental evaluation. Their psychologist finds Pope fully competent to stand trial. But the autism diagnosis and the successive competency motions and continuances eat up nearly 2 more years. The trial the public had been waiting for, the trial survivors had been preparing themselves to sit through, is finally scheduled. And then on August 30th, 2023, 4 years after his initial arrest, Jason Roger Pope walks into a Florence County courtroom and pleads guilty. 13 charges, all of them against minors. 5 counts of sex trafficking of a minor. 5 counts of criminal sexual conduct with a minor. 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct. All charges tied to offenses committed between 2017 and 2019. Judge Brian Gibbons sentences him to 30 years with 11 suspended. He will serve 19 years in prison. After his release, he will be on 5 years of sex offender probation, monitored around the clock by specialized agents. He is permanently listed on the sex offender registry. He faces up to 10 additional years if he violates probation. Permanent restraining orders prohibit contact with any identified victim. Prosecutors confirm at sentencing that Pope intentionally infected at least one of his victims with HIV. He is 46 years old at sentencing. He will be 65 at the earliest possible release date. Now hold 2 numbers in your mind at the same time. 13, 693. 13 is the number of charges he was convicted on. 693 is the number of black women and girls Pope himself publicly claimed to have had sexual contact with, documented in a Facebook post in which he wrote, at age 36, that he had 693 bodies, all black females, posted publicly, on his own page. while he was walking free in Florence County. The criminal case covered 13 counts, tied to 2017 through 2019. Every encounter before that window, every girl from 2011 onward whose report was closed and filed and forgotten, every woman before that, none of them are reflected in the 19 years he is serving. The system prosecuted 13 charges. The other hundreds of victims simply do not appear in the sentence. Here is what else does not appear in the sentence. Jason Pope was never charged with a hate crime, despite his own written statement expressing an explicit intent to target Black women specifically for HIV exposure, with the stated goal of passing the virus to Black men. That statement circulated widely and was reported by multiple outlets. No hate crime charge was ever filed. Jason Pope was never charged under South Carolina's HIV criminalization statute, despite prosecutors confirming he intentionally infected at least one victim, despite the 2011 hospital report of 2 minor girls who presented scared they had contracted the virus from him, and despite his own public social media activity suggesting he was fully aware of his diagnosis throughout years of unprotected sexual contact with hundreds of people. The law was there. The evidence was there. The charge was never filed. And there is one more silence in this case that must be named before we close. We do not know how many of the approximately 693 women and girls Pope had sexual contact with were ever tested for HIV after his arrest. We do not know what public health resources were offered to the community after the scale of the case became clear. We do not know how many women are living today with a diagnosis they received because a man in Florence County put his name on a flyer and handed them a drink and told them they were special. The public health response to this case, if there was one, was never made visible to the public. Those women are out there. Their names are not in any court document. Their story does not appear anywhere in his sentence. Project Censored, the organization that tracks stories, the mainstream media fails to cover adequately, published a report on this case in 2020, noting that despite the scale of the crimes and the number of victims, coverage from major national outlets was severely limited. They titled their piece with the number Pope put on his own Facebook page: 693 bodies. The Black press covered it. Community advocates covered it. Social media kept it alive through TikTok and Instagram for years, while the court system ran continuances and competency hearings, and the local news moved on to other things. Your national outlets largely did not follow it until sentencing, and even then the coverage was brief: a paragraph, a headline, and then on to the next story. Now I need to speak directly to you. If you are a Black woman listening to this right now, I need you to hear what this case is actually saying beneath the charges and the dates and the sentence. Because the legal case is one story. The real story is something older and more dangerous. Jason Pope did not operate in a vacuum. He operated in a community where his victims were already being told in 100 different ways that their bodies were less protected than other bodies. Where a 13-year-old could walk into a hospital and tell a deputy that a 34-year-old man paid her for sex, and she was scared she had been exposed to a fatal disease, and the case could be marked unfounded and closed, and nothing would happen to him. Where a family member could put a phone with evidence in a law enforcement officer's hand, and the officer could look at it and still walk away without an arrest. Where 6 SD cards could be found in a sock in a predator's bedroom drawer, and the charge that sticks is a fine. That 13-year-old trusted the system to protect her. The system looked at her report and decided it was unfounded. What Pope understood, what he exploited, what he built a 23-year predatory career on, was a simple and terrible truth. He knew whose children the system would come looking for, and whose it would not. He knew which reports would be filed and which would be closed. He knew that the social capital of being the local DJ, of being the man with the flyers and the music and the money in his pocket, would operate as a shield in exactly the communities where his victims had the least institutional protection. He was not brilliant. He was not a criminal mastermind. He was a man who understood precisely where the gaps were and stayed inside them for 23 years. That gap is not closed. The conditions that made this case possible are not gone. They have not been legislated away or prosecuted away or sentenced away. They exist in every city where Black girls' reports are marked unfounded. In every jurisdiction where HIV criminalization laws exist, but are applied selectively. In every community where a predator can build enough social currency to make his victims question what they saw and felt and lived through. This case ended with a guilty plea, but it did not end with accountability that matches the scale of what happened. It did not end with a public health response visible enough to reach the women and girls who are still carrying what he left with them. It did not end with a serious reckoning about why Florence County had documentation going back to 2011 and closed case after case without an arrest. 19 years. That is what the system decided 693 Black women and girls were worth. This is not a story about one bad man. One bad man cannot single-handedly create the conditions that allowed this to continue for 2 decades. This is a story about what happens when institutional indifference toward Black women's bodies becomes so normalized that it is no longer even recognized as a failure. When it is just the way things go. When a 13-year-old girl's report can be marked unfounded and a deputy can go home and not think about it again. Jason Pope did not create that indifference. He simply knew it was there and decided to live inside it. Before I let you go, 2 things I want to make sure you know about. The first is Flowers for the Living. It is the latest EP from the No Tears for Black Girls soundtrack, performed by Jada Truth. It is for the women still here, for the ones still carrying weight the world pretended not to see. Stream it. Share it. Let it find the people who need it. You can search No Tears for Black Girls. Soundtrack anywhere you stream music, and it will be right there waiting for you. The link is also in the show notes. The second is Death Apnea, the latest book from our show's creator, J.C. Reedberg, part of the No Tears for Black Girls Case Files series. If what you heard in this episode about institutional erasure and Black bodies and systems that look the other way landed somewhere heavy in your chest, Death Apnea is where that same weight lives in fiction. It follows 19-year-old Kiki Toussaint, whose mother dies on New Year's Eve and is processed by a New Orleans hospital as Jane Doe 2026-001, despite having identification in her purse, despite Kiki calling every hospital in the city, despite a family doing everything right. What Kiki and investigative journalist Samantha Paul uncover is not a mistake. It is a pipeline. And it has been running for over a century, from plantation hospitals to the night doctors to Tuskegee to the present day, learning better paperwork with every generation. If you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, the book is available to you right now at no additional cost. Print copies are available for purchase for those who want to hold this story in their hands. To find it without clicking anything, simply search No Tears for Black Girls by J.C. Reedberg on Amazon, and the full catalog will come right up. The direct link is also in the show notes. If this episode moved something in you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a 5-star review wherever you listen. Every review helps the algorithm push our episodes to more people, which means more families get heard, more stories get told, and more Black women stop being footnotes in cases that should have had their names at the top. Links to our music and our latest books are in the show notes. But if you prefer to search without clicking, find our books on Amazon by searching No Tears for Black Girls by J.C. Reedberg, and find our music by searching No Tears for Black Girls soundtrack wherever you stream. This is No Tears for Black Girls. I am Samantha Paul. Stay loved, stay safe. And remember, whenever you are trapped in a world of darkness, never allow fear to overwhelm you. Believe in your inner spirit and remind yourself of God's first words. Let there be light.